Hola, hello, a very warm welcome to the second level of Spanish with El Método. Before starting the course, do make sure that you've mastered all the material in Level 1. This course follows exactly the same procedure as Level 1, which I'm sure you're familiar with by now. As always, I advise against rushing through the course. Make sure each lesson is fully mastered before carrying on to the next, as success with each lesson depends on mastery of the previous lessons and everything that's gone before. So Jessica and I wish you speedy progress with Level 2, and feel free to message us with any queries or concerns you may have as you move through the course. Hasta luego! The first word we're going to learn is to understand, which in Spanish is comprender.
Comprender.
So now, can you say, I want to understand it? Quiero comprenderlo.
Quiero comprenderlo.
And now say, I want to understand you. Quiero comprenderte.
Quiero comprenderte.
And how do we ask, can you understand me? ¿Puedes comprenderme?
¿Puedes comprenderme?
And can you try to ask, why can't you understand me? ¿Por qué no puedes comprenderme?
¿Por qué no puedes comprenderme?
I can't understand you. No puedo comprenderte.
No puedo comprenderte.
And how would we say, I can't tell you now? No puedo decirte ahora.
No puedo decirte ahora.
And the question, why don't you want to tell me? ¿Por qué no quieres decirme?
¿Por qué no quieres decirme?
Now can you say, he is Pedro? Es Pedro.
Es Pedro.
And what about the question, is he Pedro o Miguel? ¿Es Pedro o Miguel?
¿Es Pedro o Miguel?
And how about, is Pedro American or Spanish? ¿Pedro es americano o español?
¿Es Pedro americano o español?
And how would we say, I'm Paula and I'm Spanish? Soy Paula y soy española.
Soy Paula y soy española.
The word for if in Spanish is sí, just like the word for yes, but without the accent. Sí.
Sí.
So how would we say, I don't know if you can see me? No sé si puedes verme.
No sé si puedes verme.
I don't know if he is Spanish or British. No sé si es español o británico.
No sé si es español o británico.
So the infinitive to understand is comprender. To say I understand, it's comprendo.
Comprendo.
So we remove the er infinitive ending and add the o, comprendo. And to say you understand, it's comprendes. So we remove the er infinitive ending and add es in its place. Comprendes.
Comprendes.
To say he or she understands, it's él o ella comprende without the s. The third person singular, the he or she, él o ella form in Spanish, is always the same as the second tú or you form without the s. How would you say, she wants to know if you understand? Ella quiere saber si comprendes.
Quiere saber si comprendes.
And how do we say, she wants to know if he understands? Quiere saber si comprende.
Ella quiere saber si comprendes.
To say or to tell, as we saw before, is decir. Decir. How then would we say, she doesn't want to tell me if she's leaving tonight? No quiere decirme si sale esta noche.
No quiere decirme si sale esta noche.
If I don't see you today, you can tell me tomorrow. Si no te veo hoy, puedes decirme mañana.
Si no te veo hoy, puedes decirme mañana.
And what about the negative question, don't you see where I am? ¿No ves dónde estoy?
¿No ves dónde estoy?
Now say, I can see you. Puedo verte.
Puedo verte.
And how about I see you? Te veo.
Te veo.
You can see me. Puedes verme.
Puedes verme.
You see me. Me ves.
Me ves.
I can understand you. Puedo comprenderte.
Puedo comprenderte.
I understand you. Te comprendo.
Te comprendo.
So then, do you remember how to say, I know? Yo sé.
Yo sé.
And how would you say, I want to know? Quiero saber.
Quiero saber.
And I want to know it. Quiero saberlo.
Quiero saberlo.
How would we say, I know it? Lo sé.
Lo sé.
You know it. Lo sabes.
Lo sabes.
And the question, do you know it? ¿Lo sabes?
¿Lo sabes?
Why don't you know it? ¿Por qué no lo sabes?
¿Por qué no lo sabes?
And can you say, she knows it? Ella lo sabe.
Ella lo sabe.
She wants to know it. Quiere saberlo.
Ella quiere saberlo.
How would we say, I have it? Lo tengo.
Lo tengo.
And I want to have it. Quiero tenerlo. Quiero tenerlo. How about the question? Do you want to have it? ¿Quieres tenerlo?
¿Quieres tenerlo?
And how about why does he want to have it? ¿Por qué quiere tenerlo?
¿Por qué quiere tenerlo?
Where does he want to do it? ¿Dónde quiere hacerlo?
¿Dónde quiere hacerlo?
I do it. Lo hago.
Lo hago.
I'm doing it. Lo hago.
Lo hago.
You are doing it. Lo haces.
Lo haces.
To say I know how to do it, the word how in Spanish is not necessary. It's not translated. In Spanish it would just be I know to do it. So how would you say you know how to do it? Sabes hacerlo.
Sabes hacerlo.
And how would you say I know how to do it for you? Sé hacerlo para ti.
Sé hacerlo para ti.
And can you say I want to eat it? Quiero comerlo.
Quiero comerlo.
And what about I am eating it? Lo como.
Lo como.
Bienvenidos de nuevo. Welcome back. Welcome to lesson 3, level 2 of El Método. Before we start, I'd like to mention our Facebook group for El Método. Here you'll be able to connect with myself for any queries you may have, as well as other students enrolled on the course. You'll find regular tips and extra materials designed to keep you focused and motivated as you move through the course. So you're more than welcome to join us. So then, how would you say, can you tell me if I can have it today? ¿Puedes decirme si puedo tenerlo hoy?
¿Puedes decirme si puedo tenerlo hoy?
Now can you say, she can tell you if it's important? Ella puede decirte si es importante.
Ella puede decirte si es importante.
I'm sure I can do it if it's easy. Estoy seguro que puedo hacerlo si es fácil.
Estoy seguro que puedo hacerlo si es fácil.
I don't know if you want to tell me. No sé si quieres decirme.
No sé si quieres decirme.
Now the verb to buy in Spanish is comprar.
Comprar.
What would you say in Spanish for I'm sorry, but I can't buy it for you? Lo siento, pero no puedo comprarlo para ti.
Lo siento, pero no puedo comprarlo para ti.
Can you buy it for me? ¿Puedes comprarlo para mí?
¿Puedes comprarlo para mí?
And what about, what do you want to buy here? ¿Qué quieres comprar aquí?
¿Qué quieres comprar aquí?
And the negative question, why don't you want to buy it? ¿Por qué no quieres comprarlo?
¿Por qué no quieres comprarlo?
The word for expensive in Spanish is caro.
Caro.
No need to roll the R's, it's a single one. If it were double R, it would be carro, but with the single R, it's just a single flip. Caro.
Caro.
It's very expensive. Es muy caro.
Es muy caro.
I can buy it because it's not very expensive. Puedo comprarlo porque no es muy caro.
Puedo comprarlo porque no es muy caro.
She doesn't want to buy it if it's not good. No quiere comprarlo si no es bueno.
No quiere comprarlo si no es bueno.
I'm not buying it because it's expensive and it's very bad. No lo compro porque es caro y es muy malo.
No lo compro porque es caro y es muy malo.
As we saw previously, adjectives or describing words like tired, busy, good or bad usually have masculine and feminine forms. I'm tired is estoy cansado or estoy cansada, depending on if you're a man or a woman. We've seen that nouns or objects are also masculine or feminine, so the ending of the adjective usually changes accordingly. The Spanish for new is nuevo or nueva. Nuevo, nueva. Now, bearing in mind that a car in Spanish is considered masculine, how would you say, I want to buy a new car? Quiero comprar un coche nuevo.
Quiero comprar un coche nuevo.
She wants to buy a new house. Ella quiere comprar una casa nueva.
Ella quiere comprar una casa nueva.
She wants to buy it because it's not very expensive and she needs it today. Quiere comprarlo porque no es muy caro y lo necesita hoy.
Quiere comprarlo porque no es muy caro y lo necesita hoy.
The house is very expensive. La casa es muy cara.
La casa es muy cara.
Now then, the question how much is cuánto.
¿Cuánto?
So how would we say, how much is it? ¿Cuánto es?
¿Cuánto es?
And how would we say, I want to know how much it is? Quiero saber cuánto es.
Quiero saber cuánto es.
How would you say, she wants to buy it, but she doesn't know how much it is? Quiere comprarlo, pero no sabe cuánto es.
Ella quiere comprarlo pero no sabe cuánto es.
How about, are you sure you know how much it is? ¿Estás segura que sabes cuánto es?
¿Estás segura que sabes cuánto es?
And how would you ask, where do you want to buy it? ¿Dónde quieres comprarlo?
¿Dónde quieres comprarlo?
And to say, if you buy it here, it's not very expensive. Si lo compras aquí, no es muy caro.
Si lo compras aquí, no es muy caro.
And how would you ask, can you tell me how much it is today? ¿Puedes decirme cuánto es hoy?
¿Puedes decirme cuánto es hoy?
And lastly, I want to buy it if it's not expensive. Quiero comprarlo si no es caro.
Quiero comprarlo si no es caro.
At this point, let's take our first steps away from the present and learn a simple way of talking about the future. So to say I'm going to, as in I'm going to do something, it's voy a.
Voy a.
Remember the V should be pronounced as a very light B, with the lips barely touching each other. Voy a.
Voy a.
How do we say I'm going to do it? Voy a hacerlo.
Voy a hacerlo.
I'm going to buy it. Voy a comprarlo.
Voy a comprarlo.
I'm going to eat now. Voy a comer ahora.
Voy a comer ahora.
The word late in Spanish is tarde.
Tarde.
So to say it's very late, what would that be? Es muy tarde.
Es muy tarde.
To say more in Spanish, the word is más.
Más.
And to say more late, in other words, later, it's más tarde.
Más tarde.
How would we say I'm going to be here later? Voy a estar aquí más tarde.
Voy a estar aquí más tarde.
And how about I have to do it now because it's very late? Tengo que hacerlo ahora porque es muy tarde.
Tengo que hacerlo ahora porque es muy tarde.
I'm going to do it later. Voy a hacerlo más tarde.
Voy a hacerlo más tarde.
The negative form of I'm going to is I'm not going to. I'm not going to in Spanish is, you may have guessed, no voy a. No voy a. So how would we say I'm not going to do it now because I'm going to be busy today? No voy a hacerlo ahora porque voy a estar ocupado hoy.
No voy a hacerlo ahora porque voy a estar ocupada hoy.
And how about I'm not going to buy it because it's very expensive? No voy a comprarlo porque es muy caro.
No voy a comprarlo porque es muy caro.
I'm going to tell you later. Voy a decirte más tarde.
Voy a decirte más tarde.
And what about I'm doing it now because I'm not going to do it later? Lo hago ahora porque no voy a hacerlo más tarde. Lo hago ahora porque no voy a hacerlo más tarde. The word for to call in Spanish, for example, on the phone, to call, is llamar.
Llamar.
Remember the double L sound like we saw before in the word for chair? Silla is like a Y in English. Depending on the region or country that you're from, there may be variations to this sound, but in standard Castilian Spanish, it's most often pronounced as a Y with the tiniest hint of J. So, llamar.
Llamar.
So then, how would you say, I'm going to call you later? Voy a llamarte más tarde.
Voy a llamarte más tarde.
I can't call you later because I don't have my telephone. No puedo llamarte más tarde porque no tengo mi teléfono.
No puedo llamarte más tarde porque no tengo mi teléfono.
And how about you can call me if you have your telephone? Puedes llamarme si tienes tu teléfono.
Puedes llamarme si tienes tu teléfono.
The question at what time is ¿a qué hora? Literally, at what hour? ¿A qué hora?
¿A qué hora?
Remember not to roll that R, but to give it a single light flip. Hora. ¿A qué hora?
¿A qué hora?
How would you say, therefore, at what time can you call me? ¿A qué hora puedes llamarme?
¿A qué hora puedes llamarme?
If she has the computer, she can call you. Si tiene el ordenador, puede llamarte.
Si tiene el ordenador, puede llamarte.
I'm going to be there later. Voy a estar allí más tarde.
Voy a estar ahí más tarde.
I'm not going to be here tomorrow. No voy a estar aquí mañana.
No voy a estar aquí mañana.
off lesson 5 of level 2 of El Método. Let's start with a very common verb. To put in Spanish is poner.
Poner.
How would we say, I'm going to put it on the table? Voy a ponerlo en la mesa.
Voy a ponerlo en la mesa.
And what about, I'm not going to put it on the chair? No voy a ponerlo en la silla.
No voy a ponerlo en la silla.
The question, are you going to, or indeed the affirmation you are going to, is vas a.
Vas a.
What would the question, are you going to call me, be? Vas a llamarme.
¿Vas a llamarme?
At what time are you going to call me? ¿A qué hora vas a llamarme?
¿A qué hora vas a llamarme?
What about the question, at what time are you going to be here tonight? ¿A qué hora vas a estar aquí esta noche?
¿A qué hora vas a estar aquí esta noche?
Where are you going to be later? ¿Dónde vas a estar más tarde?
¿Dónde vas a estar más tarde?
And how about, why aren't you going to do it for me? ¿Por qué no vas a hacerlo para mí?
¿Por qué no vas a hacerlo para mí?
Now the third person, she's going to, or he's going to, or it's going to, is va a.
Va a.
Now, at this point, it's worth pointing out that the subject it is hardly ever used in Spanish. This sense of it is expressed or contained in the form of the verb itself. So to say it's going to, it's simply va a. You'll see there's no pronoun in Spanish, there's no it. It's here, está aquí. Again, no pronoun. The other subject pronouns, I, you, he, she, we, they, are only used at times for emphasis, as the actual verb form already indicates the person being referred to.
How would we say she's going to do it? Ella va a hacerlo.
Ella va a hacerlo.
He's going to call me later. Va a llamarme más tarde.
Va a llamarme más tarde.
She's going to put it in the house. Va a ponerlo en la casa.
Va a ponerlo en la casa.
He's going to need a hotel for tonight. Va a necesitar un hotel para esta noche.
Va a necesitar un hotel para esta noche.
How do you say I'm not going to do it like that? No voy a hacerlo así.
No voy a hacerlo así.
And how do you say I see that you're not going to tell me? Veo que no vas a decirme.
Veo que no vas a decirme.
And how about the question, do you understand that she's not going to do it? ¿Comprendes que no va a hacerlo?
¿Comprendes que no va a hacerlo?
The adjective ready, I'm ready, is listo or lista.
Listo, lista.
How then would a girl say, I'm ready? Estoy lista.
Estoy lista.
And how would a boy say, I'm ready? Estoy listo.
Estoy listo.
And what about, are you ready? ¿Estás listo?
¿Estás listo?
Now then, how would we ask a lady, at what time are you going to be ready? ¿A qué hora vas a estar lista?
¿A qué hora vas a estar lista?
And what about, at what time is it going to be ready, referring to something masculine? ¿A qué hora va a estar listo?
¿A qué hora va a estar listo?
The word soon in Spanish, as you may know, is pronto.
Pronto.
can you say, it's going to be ready soon? Va a estar listo pronto.
Va a estar listo pronto.
See you soon is hasta pronto.
Hasta pronto.
And how do we ask, are you going to see it soon? Vas a verlo pronto.
¿Vas a verlo pronto?
How would you say she's not going to be ready because she's very busy? No va a estar lista porque está muy ocupada.
No va a estar lista porque está muy ocupada.
And the question, at what time are you going to have dinner? ¿A qué hora vas a cenar?
¿A qué hora vas a cenar?
I'm going to have dinner soon. Voy a cenar pronto.
Voy a cenar pronto.
Why are you leaving now? ¿Por qué sales ahora?
¿Por qué sales ahora?
I'm leaving now because I have to be there soon. Salgo ahora porque tengo que estar allí pronto.
Salgo ahora porque tengo que estar ahí pronto.
Now then, the word for everything or all in Spanish is todo.
Todo.
So how would you say everything is going to be ready for you today? Todo va a estar listo para ti hoy.
Todo va a estar listo para ti hoy.
And how would you say it's impossible to do it all today? Es imposible hacerlo todo hoy.
Es imposible hacerlo todo hoy.
How would you ask the question, do you have everything? ¿Tienes todo?
¿Tienes todo?
And what about, does she have everything ready for me? ¿Tiene todo listo para mí?
¿Tiene todo listo para mí?
And how would you ask, are you going to eat all that? ¿Vas a comer todo eso?
¿Vas a comer todo eso?
And what about, are you going to do all this? ¿Vas a hacer todo esto?
¿Vas a hacer todo esto?
Is everything ready now? ¿Está todo listo ahora?
¿Está todo listo ahora?
And how would you say, she's leaving soon? Ella sale pronto.
Ella sale pronto.
Everything or all is todo. Nothing is nada.
Nada.
Be sure to produce a proper Spanish D sound. That's to say, with the tip of the tongue touching the teeth, as in the English words this or that. It's the same position for the Spanish D. This, that, nada. Practice that a few times. This, that, nada. This, that, nada. Nada.
Nada.
Nothing is going to be ready today. Nada va a estar listo hoy.
Nada va a estar listo hoy.
Everything is going to be ready tomorrow. Todo va a estar listo mañana.
Todo va a estar listo mañana.
Welcome back, welcome to Lesson 7 of El Método, Level 2. As we saw last class, the word for everything or all is todo, and the word for nothing is nada. So then, how would we say nothing is in the house because everything is in the car? Nada está en la casa porque todo está en el coche. Nada está en la casa porque todo está en el coche. Now then, think of how to say, I want to be ready. Quiero estar listo. Quiero estar listo. As always, the second verb will go in the infinitive form, which in Spanish is always the form ending in an R. Estar. Now then, what about I am ready? Estoy listo.
Estoy listo.
And you are ready? Estás listo.
Estás listo.
How would we say he is ready? Él está listo.
Él está listo.
And how would you say she is ready? Ella está lista.
Ella está lista.
And what about nothing is ready? Nada está listo.
Nada está listo.
And how then would we say everything is ready? Todo está listo. Todo está listo. What about it's ready, referring to a feminine object? Está lista.
Está lista.
What would we say in Spanish for it's important? Es importante.
Es importante.
And how about it's possible? Es posible.
Es posible.
What two ways of saying I am do you know? Yo soy, yo estoy.
Yo soy, yo estoy.
What about you are? Two forms. Tú eres, tú estás.
Tú eres, tú estás.
What about two forms of he is? Él es, él está.
Él es, él está.
And two forms of she is. Ella es, ella está.
Ella es, ella está.
Do you remember how to ask the question, how are you? ¿Cómo estás?
¿Cómo estás?
How then would we ask, how is she? ¿Cómo está? ¿Cómo está ella?
¿Cómo está?
And how about, how is he? ¿Cómo está?
¿Cómo está?
Now then, a teacher is un profesor.
Un profesor.
And a student is un estudiante.
Un estudiante.
When we talk about professions or occupations in Spanish, a teacher, a student, a lawyer, the article a is omitted. So instead of saying I'm a teacher, in Spanish it would be I'm teacher. Soy profesor.
Soy profesor.
How then would you say I'm a student? Soy estudiante.
Soy estudiante.
She's a student. Ella es estudiante.
Ella es estudiante.
She's ready. Ella está lista.
Ella está lista.
And how would we say he's a teacher? Él es profesor.
Él es profesor.
He's busy. Está ocupado.
Está ocupado.
And now say, you're a student. Eres estudiante.
Eres estudiante.
And how would you say, you're tired, referring to a girl or a woman? Estás cansada.
Estás cansada.
Now, can you say, I'm Peter? Soy Peter.
Soy Peter.
And what about, I'm here? Estoy aquí.
Estoy aquí.
The very common little word with, as you may already know in Spanish, is con.
Con.
The Spanish for with me you might expect to be con mi, but there's a very particular form for this combination. We don't say con mi, but conmigo as one word. Conmigo.
Conmigo.
And with you, they say contigo.
Contigo.
How then would we say, I want to do it with you? Quiero hacerlo contigo.
Quiero hacerlo contigo.
And what about the question, do you want to do it with me? ¿Quieres hacerlo conmigo?
¿Quieres hacerlo conmigo?
How would we say, I don't want to do anything with you? In this case, anything and nothing would be the same word in Spanish. I don't want to do anything with you. No quiero hacer nada contigo.
No quiero hacer nada contigo.
Now say, I want to do it with María. Quiero hacerlo con María.
Quiero hacerlo con María.
And how about, do you want to have dinner with me? ¿Quieres cenar conmigo?
¿Quieres cenar conmigo?
Hola a todos. The first word of Lesson 8, Unit 2 is to speak, which in Spanish is hablar.
Hablar.
To say Spanish, the word is español.
Español.
So how do you say, you can speak Spanish with me? Puedes hablar español conmigo.
Puedes hablar español conmigo.
The language or the nationality English is inglés.
Inglés.
And to say with him or with her is con él or con ella. Notice that unlike with me and with you, in this case, the words are separate. Con él, con ella.
Con él, con ella.
So then, how would you say you can speak English with him? Puedes hablar inglés con él. Puedes hablar inglés con él. You have to speak Spanish with her.
Tienes que hablar español con ella.
Tienes que hablar español con ella.
How would you say, "Excuse me, do you speak English?" Perdone, ¿hablas inglés?
Perdone, ¿hablas inglés?
She doesn't speak English, but she speaks Spanish. Ella no habla inglés, pero habla español.
Ella no habla inglés, pero habla español.
How would we say, "I'm not Spanish, but I speak Spanish"? No soy español, pero hablo español.
No soy español, pero hablo español.
And how about, "I'm not English, but I speak English"? No soy inglés, pero hablo inglés. No soy inglés, pero hablo inglés. And can you say, "I'm going to say it in Spanish"? Voy a decirlo en español.
Voy a decirlo en español.
The very common verb to come is venir.
Venir.
How do you think we would say, "You can come with me"? Puedes venir conmigo. Puedes venir conmigo.
Now then, to say to come to do something, or in English we would probably say to come and do something, we would say venir a hacer algo. Venir a hacer algo. Venir a hacer algo. Can you come and see it with me tonight? ¿Puedes venir a verlo conmigo esta noche?
¿Puedes venir a verlo conmigo esta noche?
I can't come and do it if you are not there. No puedo venir a hacerlo si tú no estás allí.
No puedo venir a hacerlo si tú no estás allí.
So then, the verb to come is venir. The verb to go is ir. Ir. How then would you say, "I want to go with you"? Quiero ir contigo. Quiero ir contigo. What about, "I'm not going to go with Carlos"? No voy a ir con Carlos. No voy a ir con Carlos. How would you say, You can go later if you want. Puedes ir más tarde si quieres. Puedes ir más tarde si quieres. Just as with venir, to go and do something is ir a hacer algo. Ir a hacer algo. I want to go and see it with him. Quiero ir a verlo con él. Quiero ir a verlo con él. I have to go and do it today. Tengo que ir a hacerlo hoy.
Tengo que ir a hacerlo hoy.
I have to speak with you. Tengo que hablar contigo.
Tengo que hablar contigo.
And how would we say, she's going to come and speak with you tomorrow? Ella va a venir a hablar contigo mañana.
Ella va a venir a hablar contigo mañana.
I don't understand why she doesn't want to come with you. No entiendo por qué no quiere venir contigo.
No entiendo por qué no quiere venir contigo.
She's going to buy the car, but it's very expensive. Va a comprar el coche, pero es muy caro.
Va a comprar el coche, pero es muy caro.
She's buying it today. Lo compra hoy.
Lo compra hoy.
Certainly the toughest aspect of Spanish for the beginner are the verbs, as there are so many conjugated and irregular forms. To master the basic verbs is really essential to becoming a confident and effective speaker. Those who conquer the verbs in Spanish will find that the rest is plain sailing, as Spanish possesses the logic and solid structure of the Romance languages. So do bear with us as we really focus in on these basic verb forms over the next couple of lessons. It will be worth it in the long run. What is the Spanish for the verb to buy? Comprar.
Comprar.
So how would you say I'm buying, or indeed I buy? Compro.
Compro.
And how about you are buying? Compras.
Compras.
And she buys. Compra.
Compra.
How did we say to call? Llamar.
Llamar.
So how would you ask the question, why don't you call me? ¿Por qué no me llamas?
¿Por qué no me llamas?
And do you remember how to say to have dinner? Cenar.
Cenar.
How would you ask the question, at what time does he have dinner? ¿A qué hora cena?
¿A qué hora cena?
The Spanish for the verb to need is necesitar.
Necesitar.
I need to speak with the teacher. Necesito hablar con el profesor.
Necesito hablar con el profesor.
And how do you say to understand in Spanish? Comprender.
Comprender.
I don't understand you. No te comprendo.
No te comprendo.
And how about she doesn't understand me? Ella no me comprende.
Ella no me comprende.
What's the verb to see in Spanish? Ver.
Ver.
And how would you say I see you? Te veo.
Te veo.
How would you ask the question, are you seeing it tomorrow? ¿Lo ves mañana?
¿Lo ves mañana?
And how about, are you going to see it tomorrow? Vas a verlo mañana.
Vas a verlo mañana.
How did we say to go out? Salir.
Salir.
I'm going out now. Salgo ahora.
Salgo ahora.
What about he's going out soon? Él sale pronto.
Él sale pronto.
Now say, are you going out later? ¿Sales más tarde?
¿Sales más tarde?
What was the verb to have? Tener.
Tener.
So how would we say, I have it? Lo tengo.
Lo tengo.
What about the negative question, don't you have it? ¿No lo tienes? ¿No lo tienes? And how would you ask, why doesn't he have it? ¿Por qué no lo tiene?
¿Por qué no lo tiene?
Welcome back to Lesson 10 of Level 2 as we continue bashing out the most common verbs, crucial work for mastery of the Spanish language. The verb to want in Spanish is querer.
Querer.
And how would we say I want it? Lo quiero.
Lo quiero.
Now ask, do you want to know why? ¿Quieres saber por qué?
¿Quieres saber por qué?
And can you ask, doesn't she want to go out? ¿No quieres salir?
¿No quieres salir?
What was the verb to know? Saber.
Saber.
How would we say I know it? Lo sé.
Lo sé.
And the negative question, don't you know? No sabes.
¿No sabes?
And do you remember the verb to do? Hacer.
Hacer.
Now say, I'm doing it now. Lo hago ahora.
Lo hago ahora.
And how would you say the statement, you do it with her? Lo haces con ella.
Lo haces con ella.
And what about the negative question, doesn't she do it with her? ¿No lo hace con ella?
¿No lo hace con ella?
Do you remember the verb to eat or to have lunch? Comer.
Comer.
I'm sorry, but I'm having lunch. Lo siento, pero ¿cómo?
Lo siento, pero ¿cómo?
And see if you can say the statement, you are having lunch. Comes.
Comes.
He is having lunch with me. Él come conmigo.
Come conmigo.
Do you remember the verb to say or to tell? Decir.
Decir.
And how do we say, I say it? Lo digo.
Lo digo.
What about you're not saying it? No lo dices.
No lo dices.
And what about it doesn't say it? No lo dice.
No lo dice.
Welcome back. Welcome to Lesson 11 of Unit 2. The first word in this lesson is the verb to come. How did we say to come? Venir.
Venir.
Venir is one of those verbs which takes a G in the first person I form. So how do you think we would say, I'm coming tomorrow? Vengo mañana.
Vengo mañana.
How would you ask the question, are you coming with her? ¿Vienes con ella?
Vienes con ella.
And what about, is it coming today? Viene hoy.
Viene hoy.
Is Maria coming with you? María viene contigo. María viene contigo. The verb to sell is vender.
Vender.
Vender is a regular verb, so how do you think we would say, I'm selling my car? Vendo mi coche.
Vendo mi coche.
Why are you selling your house? ¿Por qué vendes tu casa?
¿Por qué vendes tu casa?
And how would we say, I want to buy it if she's selling it? Quiero comprarlo si lo vende.
Quiero comprarlo si lo vende.
Now then, the country Spain in Spanish, as you probably know, is España. España. Here's a structure which inevitably takes the beginner a little while to get used to. To say, for example, I like Spain, we need to reverse the logic and say, Spain is pleasing to me. So far, so good. But this is also complicated by the order of the words used in Spanish. And we end up saying, to me is pleasing Spain. And that's me gusta España. Me gusta España. How do you therefore say, I like Madrid, which would be, Madrid is pleasing to me? Me gusta Madrid. Me gusta Madrid. This is tricky to grasp, I grant you, and I certainly remember my own struggle with this type of verb. Don't be tempted to think of me as I and gusta as like, but me means to me and gusta means is pleasing or pleases. Madrid is pleasing to me. And how would you say, I like Carlos? Me gusta Carlos. Me gusta Carlos. The same thing happens when this structure is followed by a verb. So how would we say, I like to do it? Me gusta hacerlo.
Me gusta hacerlo.
And how would we say, I don't like to do it? No me gusta hacerlo.
No me gusta hacerlo.
And how do we say, I don't like this? No me gusta esto.
No me gusta esto.
How would we say, I like it, bearing in mind that we're really saying, it is pleasing to me, and that the it disappears as the subject it doesn't exist in Spanish, but is expressed in the verb, so only 2 words required for I like it. Me gusta.
Me gusta.
As this is all very tricky, I'd like to do the whole sequence again. How do we say, I like Spain? Me gusta España. Me gusta España. And what about, I like Madrid? Me gusta Madrid. Me gusta Madrid. And how about, I like Carlos? Me gusta Carlos. Me gusta Carlos. And how do we say, I like to do it? Me gusta hacerlo.
Me gusta hacerlo.
And I don't like to do it. No me gusta hacerlo.
No me gusta hacerlo.
What about, I don't like this? No me gusta esto.
No me gusta esto.
And how do we say, I like it? Me gusta.
Me gusta.
The way to say you like is te gusta.
Te gusta.
How would you say you like it? Te gusta.
Te gusta.
And what about the question, do you like it? ¿Te gusta?
¿Te gusta?
To say I like you, we obviously say, to me, you are pleasing. What would that be? Me gustas.
Me gustas.
And how do you say I like Madrid? Me gusta Madrid.
Me gusta Madrid.
What about, do you like Spain? ¿Te gusta España?
¿Te gusta España?
And can you ask, do you like my house? ¿Te gusta mi casa?
¿Te gusta mi casa?
Now, do you remember how to say the verb to call? Llamar. Llamar. To give the instruction or the order, call me, we would say, llámame. Notice how the accent or the emphasis falls on the first syllable, llámame.
Llámame.
How do you think we'd say, buy it? Cómpralo.
Cómpralo.
What about the imperative, speak? Habla.
Habla.
How would we say, speak with her? Habla con ella.
Habla con ella.
Speak with him tonight. Habla con él esta noche.
Habla con él esta noche.
Buy 2 beers. Compra 2 cervezas.
Compra 2 cervezas.
Referring to beers, buy 1 for me. Compra una para mí.
Compra una para mí.
Call me if it's not ready. Llámame si no está listo.
Llámame si no está listo.
To say call him, we would say llámalo.
Llámalo.
Call her would be llámala.
Llámala.
Now try to say call him if you can't do it. Llámalo si no puedes hacerlo.
Llámalo si no puedes hacerlo.
And now say call her if you need a teacher. Llámala si necesitas una profesora.
Llámala si necesitas un profesor.
Call me if you want to speak. Llámame si quieres hablar.
Llámame si quieres hablar.
Do you remember how to say the verb to put? Poner.
Poner.
The instruction or the order put it would be ponlo.
Ponlo.
Put it here, please. Ponlo aquí, por favor.
Ponlo aquí, por favor.
Put it on the table. Ponlo en la mesa.
Ponlo en la mesa.
The first person, the I form of poner, is pongo. Pongo. How then would you say I'm putting it on the chair? Lo pongo en la silla.
Lo pongo en la silla.
What about you're putting it on the big table? Lo pones en la mesa grande.
Lo pones en la mesa grande.
Now see if you can say, put it on the small table. Ponlo en la mesa pequeña. Ponlo en la mesa pequeña. What was the Spanish for the verb to do? Hacer.
Hacer.
Now, to give the instruction or the command, do it, we would say, hazlo.
Hazlo.
How would you say, do it like that? Hazlo así.
Hazlo así.
Do it with David. Hazlo con David.
Hazlo con David.
The adjective or adverb fast or quickly is rápido. The R in rápido, as you can hear, is rolled or trilled. This is because it's the first letter of the word. When an R is the first letter of a word, in Spanish it's always rolled. Rápido.
Rápido.
So how do we say, do it quickly? Hazlo rápido.
Hazlo rápido.
Do it very quickly, please. Hazlo muy rápido, por favor.
Hazlo muy rápido, por favor.
To say slowly, the word in Spanish is despacio.
Despacio.
How then would we say do it slowly? Hazlo despacio.
Hazlo despacio.
Now, can you try to say, call her quickly if you want to see her today? Llámala rápido si quieres verla hoy.
Llámala rápido si quieres verla hoy.
And what would we say in Spanish for speak slowly? Habla despacio.
Habla despacio.
The way to say well in Spanish, well, is bien.
Bien.
So how would you say very well? Muy bien.
Muy bien.
Now try to say this sentence. Speak slowly because he doesn't understand very well. Habla despacio porque no comprende muy bien.
Habla despacio porque no comprende muy bien.
Does she speak very well? Ella habla muy bien.
Ella habla muy bien.
How did we ask the question, how are you? ¿Cómo estás?
¿Cómo estás?
And so how would you reply, very well, thanks? Muy bien, gracias.
Muy bien, gracias.
Everything is going well. Todo va bien.
Todo va bien.
Nothing is going well. Nada va bien.
Nada va bien.
How would we say, put the chair on the table? Pon la silla en la mesa.
Pon la silla en la mesa.
And what about, I'm going to put everything here? Voy a poner todo aquí.
Voy a poner todo aquí.
The way to say on Monday is el lunes. So in Spanish, instead of saying on Monday, they would say the Monday. El lunes. El lunes. The way to say on Tuesday is el martes. On Wednesday, el miércoles. On Thursday, el jueves. On Friday, el viernes. On Saturday, el sábado. And on Sunday, el domingo. So then, how would we say, I'm going to do it on Monday? Voy a hacerlo el lunes.
Voy a hacerlo el lunes.
How about, I'm going to see her on Tuesday? Voy a verla el martes.
Voy a verla el martes.
I want to have it on Wednesday. Quiero tenerlo el miércoles.
Quiero tenerlo el miércoles.
And how would we say, I need it on Thursday? Lo necesito el jueves.
Lo necesito el jueves.
It has to be ready on Friday. Tiene que estar listo el viernes.
Tiene que estar listo el viernes.
She knows that I'm coming on Saturday. Ella sabe que vengo el sábado.
Ella sabe que vengo el sábado.
Today is not Sunday, it's Monday. Hoy no es domingo, es lunes.
Hoy no es domingo, es lunes.
The way to say something is algo.
Algo.
So then how would we say, I have something for you? Tengo algo para ti.
Tengo algo para ti.
I'm going to buy something for her. Voy a comprar algo para ella.
Voy a comprar algo para ella.
She wants to tell you something important. Ella quiere decirte algo importante.
Ella quiere decirte algo importante.
Do you want to eat something? ¿Quieres comer algo?
¿Quieres comer algo?
I do hope you'll consider joining us in our Facebook group, where you'll find lots of supplementary material. You'll also be able to ask us any questions you may have about the course, the language involved, or any queries you have about Spanish in general. A book in Spanish is un libro.
Un libro.
How would you instruct someone, buy the book? Compra el libro.
Compra el libro.
The way to say this, as in this book or this house, is este or esta.
Esta.
How would you say this book, bearing in mind that a book is masculine in Spanish? Este libro. Este libro. And what about this house, bearing in mind that a house is feminine? Esta casa.
Esta casa.
That, it's ese and esa.
Esa.
How would you say that table? Esa mesa.
Esa mesa.
What about that book? Ese libro.
Ese libro.
Now can you say that car? Ese coche.
Ese coche.
How would you say, I like that car? Me gusta ese coche. Me gusta ese coche. And how would you ask, can you put this chair on that table? ¿Puedes poner esta silla en esa mesa?
¿Puedes poner esta silla en esa mesa?
Now, to say this and that without a noun, for example, I like this or I like that, we say esto or eso, irrespective of the gender of whether the thing referred to is masculine or feminine. Esto, eso.
Esto, eso.
So then how would you say, I don't want to buy that? No quiero comprar eso.
No quiero comprar eso.
And what about I don't want to buy that car? No quiero comprar ese coche.
No quiero comprar ese coche.
A man is un hombre.
Un hombre.
And a woman is una mujer. Notice the Spanish J sound, mujer. It's similar to an English H as in help or hair, but with a slightly more raspy effect produced at the back of the mouth. Mujer.
Una mujer.
So then, how would we say, I like that man? Me gusta ese hombre.
Me gusta ese hombre.
I don't like that woman. No me gusta esa mujer.
No me gusta esa mujer.
Why don't you buy this book? ¿Por qué no compras este libro?
¿Por qué no compras este libro?
And the order, buy that book. Compra ese libro.
Compra ese libro.
Do you want to buy that house? ¿Quieres comprar esa casa?
¿Quieres comprar esa casa?
Now then, we already know that the pronoun it as the object of the verb is lo. However, if the item referred to is feminine, we would use the feminine for it, which is la. So how do we say he's not buying it, referring to the house? Él no la compra.
Él no la compra.
And what about she's not selling it? Ella no la vende.
Ella no la vende.
And how would you ask, why don't you sell it, referring to something masculine, for example, a car? Why don't you sell it? ¿Por qué no lo vendes? ¿Por qué no lo vendes? The way to say we is nosotros o nosotras. Nosotros, nosotras. And the way to say we speak, or indeed we are speaking, is nosotros hablamos.
Nosotros hablamos.
How would you therefore say we speak English and Spanish? Hablamos inglés y español.
Hablamos inglés y español.
So you see that the we form, the nosotros or nosotras form, is made by removing the R from the infinitive verb and just adding mos. Hablamos. Hablar, hablamos. Now this applies to the vast majority of verbs. So following the same rule, using the verb vender, to sell, vender, how would we say we sell? Vendemos. Vendemos.
How would we say, we are selling this book? Nosotros vendemos este libro.
Vendemos este libro.
The verb to leave, as we saw before, is salir. Salir can also mean to go outside or just to go out. So how do we say, when are we going out? Cuando salimos.
¿Cuándo salimos?
We're not going out today. No salimos hoy.
No salimos hoy.
Now, do you remember the verb to do? Hacer.
Hacer.
How do you think we would say, what are we doing? ¿Qué hacemos?
¿Qué hacemos?
What was the verb to see? Ver.
Ver.
How do we ask, when are we seeing the house? Cuando vemos la casa.
¿Cuándo vemos la casa?
What was the verb to know? Saber.
Saber.
So how would we say, we know where you are? Sabemos dónde estás.
Sabemos dónde estás.
What was the verb to come? Venir.
Venir.
So how would we say, we are coming on Friday? Venimos el viernes.
Venimos el viernes.
What was the verb to put? Poner.
Poner.
How would we therefore say, we are putting it here? Lo ponemos aquí.
Lo ponemos aquí.
What was the verb to understand? Comprender.
Comprender.
How would we say, we don't understand why you have to say it? No comprendemos por qué tienes que decirlo. No comprendemos por qué tienes que decirlo. Now, the verb to go in the infinitive form is ir.
Ir.
So how do we say, I want to go? Quiero ir. Quiero ir. And how do we say, she wants to go with you? Ella quiere ir contigo. Ella quiere ir contigo.
So far in El Método, we've mainly used the verb to go, ir, with the future sense of I'm going to do something. Voy a hacer algo. Vas a hacer algo. Él o ella va. However, these same forms also serve to say I'm going, you're going, he, she, or it is going, in the sense of simply going somewhere. I'm going to the bank. I'm going to Madrid.
How would we say, I'm going? Voy.
Voy.
When we say to go to a destination, for example, to go to London, to go to the beach, in Spanish this to is a. A. And I'm going to Barcelona. Voy a Barcelona.
Voy a Barcelona.
Are you going with her? ¿Vas con ella?
¿Vas con ella?
And how would we say he's not going because it's very late? Él no va porque es muy tarde.
No va porque es muy tarde.
The way to say we are going, or indeed we go, is nosotros vamos.
Nosotros vamos.
How do we say we are going to Madrid? Vamos a Madrid.
Vamos a Madrid.
And how do we say we are going to do it? Vamos a hacerlo.
Vamos a hacerlo.
say the word too big, too small, too difficult, TOO in Spanish is demasiado, demasiado.
Demasiado.
We are not going to do it because it's too difficult. No vamos a hacerlo porque es demasiado difícil.
No vamos a hacerlo porque es demasiado difícil.
And how do we say, I'm sorry, but I don't understand you because you speak too fast? Lo siento, pero no te entiendo porque hablas demasiado rápido.
Lo siento, pero no te entiendo porque hablas demasiado rápido.
If you don't understand, we are going to speak slowly. Si no comprendes, vamos a hablar despacio.
Si no comprendes, vamos a hablar despacio.
What about, it's too soon for her? Es demasiado pronto para ella.
Es demasiado pronto para ella.
And how would you say, it's too late for him? Es demasiado tarde para él.
Es demasiado tarde para él.
And what about, I can't do it because it's too small? No puedo hacerlo porque es demasiado pequeño.
No puedo hacerlo porque es demasiado pequeño.
If it's too late now, we can go tomorrow. Si es demasiado tarde ahora, podemos ir mañana.
Si es demasiado tarde ahora, podemos ir mañana.
How did we say good morning? Buenos días.
Buenos días.
What about good afternoon or good evening? Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
The way to say good night is buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
A room is una habitación. Make sure the H of habitación is silent. In fact, all H's in Spanish are silent. Una habitación.
Una habitación.
And a television is una televisión.
Una televisión.
So, how do we say, good afternoon, do you have a room for two? Buenas tardes, ¿tienes una habitación para dos?
Buenas tardes. ¿Tienes una habitación para dos?
Good afternoon, I want a room with a television. Buenas tardes. Quiero una habitación con una televisión.
Buenas tardes. Quiero una habitación con una televisión.
And how would you ask, good morning, are you the teacher? Buenos días. ¿Eres el profesor?
Buenos días. ¿Eres el profesor?
The verb to live in Spanish is vivir.
Vivir.
We can see that the conjugations of vivir are perfectly standard, as this is a regular IR verb. Yo vivo, tú vives, él o ella vive, nosotros, nosotras vivimos.
How would you ask, do you live here? ¿Vives aquí?
¿Vives aquí?
I live with him and with her. Vivo con él y con ella.
Vivo con él y con ella.
She doesn't live in this house. Ella no vive en esta casa.
Ella no vive en esta casa.
The number 1 is uno. Number 2, dos. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. As I call out the numbers, just touch the right one on the screen with your finger. 4, 7, 6, 2, 10, 8, 3, 5, 9, 1, 5, 7, 3, 2, 8, 10, 6, 4, 1, 9, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, 4, 2, 6, 8, 1, 3, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 8, 10, 1, 3, 2, 5, 4, 10, 8, 9, 7, 6, 1, 6, 3, 4, 2, 10, 9, 8, 7, 5, 2, 3. You may have struggled to keep up there at the end. If so, go back and repeat the exercise over and over until you can do it comfortably. And when you're ready, start repeating the numbers, calling them out after me as you touch the screen. Now then, to say, for example, number 6, in Spanish we have to add the article, so we would say the number 6. El número 6. El número 6. So how would we say number 6 is easy? El número 6 es fácil.
El número 6 es fácil.
What about number 3 is difficult? El número 3 es difícil.
El número 3 es difícil.
I want to do number 9. Quiero hacer el número 9.
Quiero hacer el número 9.
Number 1 is too easy. El número 1 es demasiado fácil.
El número 1 es demasiado fácil.
And what about the order or the instruction? Do number 10. Haz el número 10.
Haz el número 10.
We're going to do number 5 later. Vamos a hacer el número 5 más tarde.
Vamos a hacer el número 5 más tarde.
And how about, I don't like number 8. No me gusta el número 8.
No me gusta el número 8.
She lives in number 2. Ella vive en el número 2.
Ella vive en el número 2.
And finally, I live in a small house, but my room is very big. Vivo en una casa pequeña, pero mi habitación es muy grande.
Vivo en una casa pequeña, pero mi habitación es muy grande.
Bienvenidos de nuevo. Welcome back. Welcome to lesson 17 of level 2. The verb to give in Spanish is dar.
Dar.
How then would we say, can you give me the book, please? ¿Puedes darme el libro, por favor?
¿Puedes darme el libro, por favor?
Here are the first forms of the verb dar in the present tense.
You can see that these forms are quite standard and regular, except for the first form, yo doy. Yo doy, tú das, él o ella da, nosotros o nosotras damos.
How do you say, give me 5 euros? Dame 5 euros.
Dame 5 euros.
To say you are giving me the book, it would be me das el libro.
Me das el libro.
And I'm giving you the book, te doy el libro.
Te doy el libro.
Now, can you say, she calls me? Me llama.
Me llama.
And how about she calls me on Wednesday? Me llama el miércoles. Me llama el miércoles. She doesn't call you. No te llama.
No te llama.
She doesn't call you on Friday. No te llama el viernes. No te llama el viernes. You don't understand me. No me comprendes.
No me comprendes.
He understands me very well. Me comprende muy bien.
Me comprende muy bien.
She tells me everything. Me dice todo.
Me dice todo.
And how would you ask, why don't you understand me?
¿Por qué no me comprendes? ¿Por qué no me comprendes?
And how would you say, why doesn't she call me? ¿Por qué no me llama?
¿Por qué no me llama?
Now the question, do you want me, and do you love me, is the same in Spanish. So how would you say, do you love me? Or indeed, do you want me? ¿Me quieres?
¿Me quieres?
And how do you say, I love you? Te quiero.
Te quiero.
Now how do you say, she loves me? Me quiere.
Me quiere.
I want to tell you something. Quiero decirte algo.
Quiero decirte algo.
In Spanish, there are two ways to address people, either using the informal tú form that we've been using so far, or we can use the formal usted form. Usted also means you, but in a formal manner, used for older people or those in positions of authority. The tú form being used for people of one's own age, friends, children, or family. So the formal you or usted form actually uses the third person, he or she conjugation. That's to say, without the second person es. How did we say, how are you, using the tú informal form? ¿Cómo estás?
¿Cómo estás?
And how do we ask, how is she? ¿Cómo está?
¿Cómo está?
And how do we ask someone in a formal manner, how are you? ¿Cómo está?
¿Cómo está?
And what about you have in the formal manner? Usted tiene.
Usted tiene.
And using the formal way, how would you ask, what do you have? ¿Qué tiene?
¿Qué tiene?
And how do you ask, do you speak English, using the formal manner? Habla inglés.
¿Habla inglés?
And what about, do you want to buy my car? ¿Quiere comprar mi coche?
¿Quiere comprar mi coche?
The way to say to start in Spanish is empezar.
Empezar.
So try to say, I want to start on Monday. Quiero empezar el lunes. Quiero empezar el lunes. Now, empezar is what's known as a stem-changing verb. Let me explain. Spanish infinitive verbs consist of two parts, a stem and an ending. For example, the regular verb hablar, to speak, consists of the stem, habl, and the ending, ar. To conjugate hablar in the present tense, we simply take the stem and add the correct ending. Habló, hablas, habla, hablamos. However, stem-changing verbs don't follow this pattern, and as you might have guessed, the stem of these verbs undergo a change when conjugated. Empezar is one of these verbs, and we get empiezo, empiezas, empieza. However, with the nosotros form, it reverts to normal. Empezamos. Empiezo, empiezas, empieza. Empezamos. How would you say, I'm starting? Empiezo.
Empiezo.
And now try the question, at what time are you starting? ¿A qué hora empiezas?
¿A qué hora empiezas?
At what time do we start tonight? ¿A qué hora empezamos esta noche?
¿A qué hora empezamos esta noche?
And what about when is it starting? ¿Cuándo empieza?
¿Cuándo empieza?
And how do we ask somebody, addressing them in a formal way, when do you start? ¿Cuándo empieza?
¿Cuándo empieza?
The verb to think in Spanish is pensar.
Pensar.
This is also a stem-changing verb like empezar and querer. And the way to say of is de.
De.
And how would you ask, what do you think of my telephone? ¿Qué piensas de mi teléfono?
¿Qué piensas de mi teléfono?
The way to say new is nuevo or nueva.
Nuevo.
So how do we ask, what do you think of my new computer? ¿Qué piensas de mi ordenador nuevo?
¿Qué piensas de mi ordenador nuevo?
I think that I need a new car. Pienso que necesito un coche nuevo.
Pienso que necesito un coche nuevo.
We think it's very important to start soon. Pensamos que es muy importante empezar pronto.
Pensamos que es muy importante empezar pronto.
Now, to say to understand, as we've already seen, is comprender. There is actually another way to understand, which is perhaps used more frequently, and the verb is entender.
Entender.
You can see that this is another stem-changing verb.
How would you say, I don't understand it? No lo entiendo.
No lo entiendo.
Why don't you understand me? ¿Por qué no me entiendes?
¿Por qué no me entiendes?
And how about, I understand why you want to live there? Entiendo por qué quieres vivir allí.
Entiendo por qué quieres vivir allí.
Her is la, and to say him is lo. La, lo. How do we say I don't understand her? No la entiendo.
No la entiendo.
And what about I don't understand him? No lo entiendo.
No lo entiendo.
And what about I don't understand it? No lo entiendo.
No lo entiendo.
And how do we say I can't understand him? No puedo entenderlo.
No puedo entenderlo.
I don't know if you understand him. No sé si lo entiendes. And how about the question, ¿me entiendes?
¿Me entiendes?
How would we say, I don't know if you see her? No sé si la ves.
No sé si la ves.
And how would we say, are you going to see her today? ¿Vas a verla hoy?
¿Vas a verla hoy?
She's going to see him tomorrow. Ella va a verlo mañana.
Ella va a verlo mañana.
The expression what kind of in Spanish is ¿qué tipo de?
¿Qué tipo de?
So how would you ask, what kind of room do you want? ¿Qué tipo de habitación quieres?
¿Qué tipo de habitación quieres?
And how would you ask, what kind of car do you have? ¿Qué tipo de coche tienes?
¿Qué tipo de coche tienes?
Now can you say, I don't like this kind of beer? No me gusta este tipo de cerveza.
No me gusta este tipo de cerveza.
I don't want that kind of man. No quiero ese tipo de hombre. No quiero ese tipo de hombre. How did we say I like? Me gusta.
Me gusta.
I like to do it. Me gusta hacerlo.
Me gusta hacerlo.
Now, to say I would like to do it, I would like to do it, it changes to me gustaría hacerlo. Me gustaría hacerlo. This is a conditional for which in Spanish we use the whole verb, gustar, and then add the ending, in this case, ia. Me gustaría hacerlo.
Me gustaría hacerlo.
I would like to see it with you. Me gustaría verlo contigo.
Me gustaría verlo contigo.
I would like to start now if it's possible. Me gustaría empezar ahora si es posible.
Me gustaría empezar ahora si es posible.
I would like to eat something new and different. Me gustaría comer algo nuevo y diferente.
Me gustaría comer algo nuevo y diferente.
And how would you say, I would like to give you something? Me gustaría darte algo.
Me gustaría darte algo.
The negative form of the same expression, that's to say, I wouldn't like to, is of course, no me gustaría.
No me gustaría.
So how would we say, I wouldn't like to live in Madrid? No me gustaría vivir en Madrid.
No me gustaría vivir en Madrid.
And can you say, I wouldn't like to have that room because it's too small? No me gustaría tener esa habitación porque es demasiado pequeña.
No me gustaría tener esa habitación porque es demasiado pequeña.
Now can you say, I would like to go to Malaga tomorrow? Me gustaría ir a Málaga mañana.
Me gustaría ir a Málaga mañana.
And how would we say, I wouldn't like to be a woman? No me gustaría ser una mujer.
No me gustaría ser una mujer.
I would like to see it on Tuesday. Me gustaría verlo el martes.
Me gustaría verlo el martes.
And how about, I would like to see him soon? Me gustaría verlo pronto.
Me gustaría verlo pronto.
The question, would you like to, is, ¿te gustaría?
¿Te gustaría?
So how would you ask, would you like to have dinner with me? ¿Te gustaría cenar conmigo?
¿Te gustaría cenar conmigo?
And what about, would you like to see her later? ¿Te gustaría verla más tarde?
¿Te gustaría verla más tarde?
And how about, would you like to tell me something? ¿Te gustaría decirme algo?
¿Te gustaría decirme algo?
As we've seen before, To say I can is puedo. Now the infinitive form, to be able, is poder.
Poder.
Puedo, puedes, puede, podemos. How would we say, we can buy a new house if you want? Podemos comprar una casa nueva si quieres. Podemos comprar una casa nueva si quieres. Now try to say, I think she can see it tomorrow. Pienso que puede verla mañana. Pienso que puede verla mañana. I don't want to start today if she can't be here. No quiero empezar hoy si ella no puede estar aquí. No quiero empezar hoy si ella no puede estar aquí. How would you say, you can't do it in this type of room? No puedes hacerlo en este tipo de habitación. No puedes hacerlo en este tipo de habitación. And how would you say, it's going to be difficult to do it if he can't give you the computer? Va a ser difícil hacerlo si no puede darte el ordenador. Va a ser difícil hacerlo si no puede darte el ordenador. The verb to come back in Spanish is one word, volver.
Volver.
Vuelvo, vuelves, vuelve, volvemos. I'm coming back soon. Vuelvo pronto.
Vuelvo pronto.
At what time are you coming back? ¿A qué hora vuelves?
¿A qué hora vuelves?
Are you coming back tonight? ¿Vuelves esta noche? ¿Vuelves esta noche? We are coming back with María. Volvemos con María.
Volvemos con María.
Now to lift or to raise up is levantar.
Levantar.
How would you say, I'm lifting it up? Lo levanto.
Lo levanto.
And how would you ask, why don't you lift it up? ¿Por qué no lo levantas?
¿Por qué no lo levantas?
And how about the order, lift her up? Levántala.
Levántala.
And how would you say, I am lifting her up? La levanto. La levanto. Now, to say I'm getting up, in Spanish we have to say I'm lifting myself up. And we need to add the extra word myself. That's to say me. So how do we say I'm getting up or I'm lifting myself up? Me levanto.
Me levanto.
What about you are getting up? Te levantas.
Te levantas.
And the question, are you getting up now? ¿Te levantas ahora?
¿Te levantas ahora?
What about at what time do you get up? ¿A qué hora te levantas?
¿A qué hora te levantas?
Now, to say he gets up, we need to say he gets himself up. Likewise, she gets up, she gets herself up. And it gets up, it gets itself up. And this pronoun, itself, herself, himself, is se. So how do you say she gets up? Se levanta.
Se levanta.
And what about he gets up? Se levanta.
Se levanta.
And how do you say at what time does she get up? ¿A qué hora se levanta?
¿A qué hora se levanta?
Try to say he's getting up soon. Se levanta pronto.
Se levanta pronto.
And what about I'm going to get up soon? Voy a levantarme pronto.
Voy a levantarme pronto.
And to finish, how would we say I have to get up soon because I'm going to be very busy today? Tengo que levantarme pronto porque voy a estar muy ocupado hoy.
Tengo que levantarme pronto porque voy a estar muy ocupado hoy.
Hi, Peter here again. Many congratulations for completing level 2 of El Método, and I do hope you're noticing the language beginning to stick and to take shape in your mind. Tomorrow do join us for level 3, where we'll continue our long march, nuestra larga marcha, towards mastery of all the basic structures of the Spanish language. A further 2 levels, 8 hours of course to consume, in reality closer to 30 or 40 hours of study time, which in my opinion are necessary to master the basic mechanics, la mecánica básica, of the language, but also hopefully productive and stimulating, both for your Spanish and for your mind. So well done, bien hecho, and we look forward to seeing you for level 3.